Thoughts on how technology affects our creativity? That's an interesting question. And thank you again, Katie. Thoughts on how technology affects our creativity. Well, I like this idea. Terence McKenna has this idea of there being a transcendental object at the end of time. That's what he calls it. So he says that time is exponentially speeding up, and that the closer we get to this transcendental attractor, he calls it like the UFO, that like we're all being pulled towards something. And that's why we have evolution. That's why we have time, is because we're being brought to something. And technology seems to be the next step in that. It seems to be, it's going to bring us outside of Terence McKenna's idea of the transcendental attractor. Technology is going to put us back in touch with our godlike state. Because if you think about what God is unlimited creative potential. That's what God is, right? Can we agree on that? That God is creativity. God is creativity. He created all of creation. So in essence, God is the creative force of reality. Does that make sense? So technology is essentially going to bring us back to a state of pure mathematics. We'll be able to be in virtual worlds. We'll be connected back to a godlike state of pure, unconfined creativity, imagination, limitless potential. So I think technology is interesting for that reason. In 100 years or so, where will we be? Virtual reality is already emerging into the mainstream, affordable technology. So it's interesting. Why do you think humans will merge with the machine? Well, I think we already have merged with the machine. That was kind of my point. We have already this exchange right here couldn't happen without us being connected to the machine. The next step is that we merge with it. The whole point of evolution is for a species to secure its survival. We make technology in the same way an apple tree makes apples, and that apple tree or that apple becomes an expression of that tree. So technology is an expression of the state of human consciousness that we are currently experiencing. And that state of consciousness gets pulled out of some imagination dimension and becomes physical. It becomes an expression of ourselves, of our imaginations, of our potential. It's just a matter of time before we completely lose ourselves in it. Think about how long cell phones have been around. When I went to high school, I had a shitty cell phone. The Razor was cool when I was in high school. So just in 10 years, shit has completely changed. The whole world has changed. Like I said, the shamans are on their phones all the time. The world has changed. This is a new experience that humanity is having. For the first time in the entire history of the planet, we are all connected, from the deep Amazon jungle to the cities, to the mountains, to islands. We're all connected. This is the new human experience that we are having right now. This moment also, not only will this Corona moment be talked about in history, but we will be talked about in history as the in-between people, the people that saw the emergence of technology and how their lives changed from pretty much having no technology to seeing the world be completely reformed and changed by it. This is a very unique time in human history that none of us are paying attention to. But this is going to be some of the most interesting times for humans to look back on. Oh, the whole world got connected. It became a global culture. News could be shared instantaneously. Social movements changed the world because people came together, not in protest in the street holding signs, but by use their voice on the internet. You know, it's a very magical time that we're all part of right now. And we should recognize our place in that and our power to carry on the torch for future generations. That we, because they're going to look back. This is the time where they're going to look back and say, "Wow, they fucked it all up." They maybe we go down a dark path with technology and we let it we or with war or whatever. They're going to look back at us right now and say, "Man, this is where they fucked up." So it's important for us to make sure we get into our power and be not only warriors for this planet, but just like warriors of self-realization, and make sure that we steer this our cultures towards love. And we can only do that by recognizing ourselves, because we don't recognize ourselves and we give our power away to ideas and to dogma, and then in that we are easily controlled to things that fit that narrative of our reality. But if we identify with being the mystery of life instead of taking on some confident position that we know what's going on, but we just recognize that this is a mystery and that we should be nice and that we should love each other because that's what feels good and that's what feels natural. And that, like, right now, the kind of culture that we are experiencing kind of feels unnatural. We've created these artificial worlds where everyone's kind of dense and the energy is so heavy that people kill themselves, people get severely addicted. There are conditions that make poverty, and there's conditions that make billionaires, while people have no food or clean water. So it's like we find ourselves in this very interesting position where if we really just sort of realize that, like, wait a minute, like, no one's paying attention, that this is the craziest thing that can possibly happen. The universe has over infinite amount of time manifested this current moment where we are talking to each other on a fucking laptop. I'm in Peru, you guys are wherever you're at, and this is strange. Humanity is experiencing the strangest possible thing that could happen in the universe, where it wakes up through us, and then it's talking about how weird it is. Like, this is a very crazy experience, and I feel like the more we can learn to identify with that place in ourselves, is we can the more we can, like, really carry the torch for future generations.
Did you know that Lord Shiva listened to high tech?